Be making this high-waisted or mid-waisted bikini bottom to match this bralette that I made a while back. Like I said, I was going to make the matching pieces to some of the pieces that I didn't make a set for, just so that it could be a complete set. So what I'm going to be using today is Lily Sugar and Cream in the color teal. And I really thought this was going to be called like Blue Ocean Wave or something cute, but it's just teal. And then it's a medium weight 4 yarn, 100% cotton. And then I'm going to be using my G hook, my 4mm hook. But for the waistband, I'm going to be using an F hook, and that is a 3.75mm hook. And then also you'll need a pair of scissors and then a measuring tape. And the measurement that you want to grab, your hip measurement, which is the fullest part of your hips, because we want to be able to get the bikini bottom over our hip. So getting started, we are going to start with our F hook, and we're going to start with a slip knot. And from there, we're going to make a chain of 8. So go ahead and chain out 8 chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then this last chain is just a turning chain. So we're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So insert your hook into that second chain, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And we're just going to single crochet in every stitch for a total of 7 single crochets. 6 and 7. And then from there, we're just going to chain 1 and turn. And we're going to start on our ribbing stitch. So this, don't go into that turning chain. We're, instead of going through both loops on the hook, we're only going to go through the back loop only, and then pull up a loop and single crochet. So we're just in this row doing back loop only, single crochets. And there should be 7 of those in this row as well. 5, 6, and 7. Okay, from there chain 1 and turn, and we're going to continue doing these back loop only single crochets. So this stitch stretches out. You can stretch this stitch out. So what we're aiming for here is to continue this pattern of back loop only single crochets. So when you're done with this row, chain 1 and turn, and continue doing 7 back loop only single crochets. So we're going to continue this pattern until this waistband can stretch out long enough to reach your hip measurement. So continue these rows of 7 back loop only single crochets, and I will meet you there and show you what's after that. Okay, so once your waistband is long enough, it'll stretch out. So once it's long enough, when you stretch it to reach your hip measurement, then it's long enough for you, for your size. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this waistband in half. and I'm going to put the side with the tail and the foundation chain in the back. And then from there, I'm just going to turn my work. So now the working loop is in the back. Okay, so from here, I'm going to find the quartermost stitch of the foundation row, and then I'm going to add my working loop back on the hook. And then I'm just going to pull that loop up. Oops. I'm just going to pull that loop up and through, and then chain one. From there, I'm going to reinsert my hook into that same stitch and reinsert my hook into the very first stitch of that back row, and then pull up a loop and single crochet. And then I'm just going to place one single crochet in every corresponding stitch. And so there's only 7 of them, so you should have 7 single crochets at the end of this row. Three, that's 4 actually. 5, 6, and 7. Perfect. And from there, I'm just going to flip this so that the seam is on the inside, because we want to hide our seams. Okay, so this is the front side of the garment. Okay, so once you have your waistband flipped so that the seam is on the inside, we're just going to chain one. Looks like I already chained one. And that's just for height. And now we're going to line this side of the ribbing with single crochets. So I'm going to put up some numbers on the screen just for you to see. And this is the minimum amount of single crochets that we need in this row. So you should count out how many rows, if you haven't already. Count out how many rows you have of ribbing, because normally we would put one single crochet in the side of every row. So if you have less rows in your band than this number that's on the screen, then you're gonna have to do a couple of increases so that you reach that amount of single crochets in this row. If you have over this number on the screen, then just put one single crochet in the side of every row. So for example, my waistband is for a size medium, and I have 98 rows of my ribbing. So in 2 of these rows, I'm going to have to increase by putting 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, just 2 single crochets in one stitch or in the side of one row. And I'm going to have to do that 2 times to ensure that I get 100 stitches in this row. And again, if you're over, just do 1 single crochet in the side of every row. So go ahead and finish this row, and I'll meet you at the end. So once you finish this row, go ahead and just slip stitch into the first single crochet of the row. Now make sure you know how many stitches that you have. If you have 100 or if you have more, it's still going to impact this next step. And from here, everyone, after this row, everyone will have the same amount for their size. So we're actually going to now switch to the G hook, the 4mm hook. So I'm going to insert that back into the loop, and then I'm going to chain one and turn my work. So if you have exactly the equal amount of single crochets as I listed in that row before, then this step is going to be the same for everyone that has that equal amount. So I have 100 here, and I'm gonna go across here with single crochets. So everyone that has an equal amount is going to single crochet into the first stitch, and then put 2 single crochets into the next stitch. And you're just going to follow this pattern by doing 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet increase in the next stitch. So this is the pattern for everyone that has an equal amount of single crochets in this row as I listed. If you had more than that, I'm going to list a new number. This is the new target goal that we need for this row. So if you have more than the last row, you're still going to increase, but you just have to space out your increases to reach 132 for extra small, 138 for small, 150 for medium, 168 for large, 180 for extra large, 198 for 2x, and 210 single crochets for 3x. So you're just going to have to space out your increases as best as you can, but from there, this is the only step that's kind of like everybody's doing a different amount of increases. So go ahead and space out your increases as best as you can if you have more, or just follow this pattern if you have the equal amount by doing 1 single crochet in 1 stitch and then alternate back to your increase in the next stitch. So go ahead and finish this row, and I'll meet you there and show you what's next. All right, so once you reach your 132, 138, 150, 168, 180, 198, or 210 single crochets in this row, go ahead and slip stitch into the very first single crochet of this row. And then from here, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn our work. And this chain 4 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 1. Okay, so we're already using this stitch, and so next we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the following stitch. Okay, so chain 1, and then we're going to skip this next stitch and yarn over and double crochet into this next stitch. Okay, I don't like that one. It was a little bit loose for me. And this is pretty much the pattern that we're going to do. We're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. This is all that we're doing for this row. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. Oh yes, and please don't forget to like and subscribe if you do like this video. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Always have to ask that. It does help my channel grow, and it also helps the algorithm. So go ahead and continue this pattern. Just chain 1 in between, skip 1 stitch, and then double crochet into the next stitch. Continue this pattern until the end of the row. Okay, so I just have 1 double crochet left, and then at the end of your row just chain 1, and we're going to find that third chain space that we made. So we made 4, and that 4th one is the chain 1. So I'm just going to find that 3rd one and try to pick up 2 loops of that 3rd chain and then slip stitch. All right, and from there we're just going to chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then turn our work. So from here we're pretty much repeating the same steps. We're going to, this chain 4 counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. So we're just going to skip this empty chain space here and then double crochet on top of the double crochet below, and then chain 1, and skip this chain space and double crochet on top of the double crochet below. So this is all we're doing for this row, and we are going to do one more row the same way. So there's going to be 3 rows that kind of have these empty box spaces in them. So go ahead and finish this row and then repeat it one more time so that you have 3 rows of this pattern, and then I'll meet you there and show you what. All right, so once you finish your 3rd row of these like empty chain spaces, go ahead and find that 3rd chain space of your chain 4 and do a slip stitch, and then from there we're going to cut and tie off, because I don't want this like seam part like in the front, and we're gonna start on the front of the brief. So go ahead and cut and tie off. Okay, so this seam here will be the center back, just so that this seam isn't in the front. I kind of like to put my seams either in the back, very back, or like on the sides of the hip. But this will be the center back, and so from here we're going to count out some stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4 in both directions, because this will be the middle of the back. So size small, you're going to count out until you get to your 25th stitch and mark that stitch off, but do that in both directions. And then for size small, you'll do 27. For medium, you'll do 31. For a large, you'll be doing 37. Extra large is 41. 2X is 46. And 3X is 50. So count that out in both directions and mark that off, and I'll meet you there. All right, so I have my 31st chain spaces marked off in both directions, starting from my seam. And from here, I'm going to just pick one of my stitch markers, and then I'm going to count out in this direction another set of stitches. So for size extra small, you'll be doing your 29th stitch. For small is 29, for medium is 30, large is 32, extra large is also 32, 2X is 34, and 3X is 35. So go ahead and count out how many stitches in this direction from your first stitch marker, and then go to the second one and count out in this direction that same amount. So this is kind of like the leg hole area. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you there. All right, so I went ahead and counted out 30 more for medium and marked that off. And then the way that you know that you did it right, so this part is the front where the bikini is going to start coming down. You should have, if you count it correctly, if you're an extra small, you should have 23 here. 23 stitches, including the empty chain spaces. A small should have 25, a medium should have 27 here, a large should have 29, 1X should have 33, 2X should have 37, and 3X should have 39 here. And then on the back side, you'll also know, I'll tell you how many stitches you're supposed to have in between where the seam is. Let me just pull that up. Okay, so small is supposed to have 49 in between here in the back. Small is 53, a medium is 61, a large is 73, extra large is 81, 2X is 91, and 3X is 99. So just make sure you counted this right, because it does help that seam stay in the center back and that everything is spaced out correctly. So once you have that done, we're going to flip it over to the front, actually. Flip over to the front, and then we're going to reattach our yarn at the front side. Okay, so once you have your yarn double knotted, we're going to insert our hook into that same stitch and pull up a loop, and then go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And this chain 3 is going to count also as a double crochet plus 1. It's just that we're going to be decreasing a little bit, so I don't want to do chain 4. It's kind of too big to me. So chain 3, and that's a double crochet plus a chain 1. Size small and extra small, you're going to skip the next 2 stitches and double crochet into the third stitch away. And then size medium through 3X, you're just going to skip 1 stitch. So skip 1 stitch and then double crochet into the second stitch. Okay. And then from there, we're just going to double crochet all the way down until we have 3 stitches left for small and extra small, or 2 stitches left for medium through 3X. So go ahead and double crochet on down. Alright, and once you have either your 2 or your 3 stitches left, depending on your size, we're going to chain 1 and then double crochet into the last stitch before the stitch marker. And then from there, go ahead and chain 3 and turn your work. And then from there, what we're going to do is yarn over, and we're going to skip the first 2 chain spaces, and that's for all the sizes. So it looks like I got a snag there. So yarn over, skip the first 2 chain spaces, and double crochet into the next double crochet. And this is kind of like how we are decreasing so that our brief can like be tapered in right now. And then from there, we're just going to put 1 double crochet in every double crochet until we reach the second to last double crochet before this empty chain space. So I'll meet you there. So I have double crocheted into the second to last double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1 and then skip this first double crochet. And technically I'm skipping this little first chain of the chain 3, but I'm just going to double crochet into this space here. It kind of looks the same as skipping 2 stitches. So from there, I'm going to double crochet into the empty chain space and then chain 3 and turn. So from here, the pattern pretty much repeats. We're going to yarn over and skip 2 stitches and double crochet into that second double crochet, and then just double crochet in the middle. And then we're going to double crochet into this second to last double crochet, and then double crochet into chain one, and then double crochet into this empty chain space. And we're going to continue this pattern until extra small through 1x. You're going to continue these types of decreases until you have 5 stitches in between your empty chain spaces, so it doesn't count this first and this last double crochet, only the ones in between. So you need 5 there. And then for 2x and 3x, you're going to continue this pattern until you have 7. So keep on decreasing, and I'll meet you there and show you what's after that. Alright, so once you finish your row that has either 5 or 7 double crochets in between the empty chain spaces, we're going to change up a little bit. From here, what we're going to do is just chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to turn. So this chain 2 is going to count as a double crochet, and then we're just going to yarn over and go straight into this first double crochet. So we're kind of skipping that empty chain space, and then we're just going to put 1 double crochet in each of these double crochets below. And there's 5 there. So everyone had 5 in the middle except 2x and 3x had 7 in the middle. And then from there we're going to just double crochet into this empty chain space. 2. So counting this very first chain 2, you should have 7 double crochets here for extra small through small, and then 2x and 3x should have 9. So from here we're going to do this again, and we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then turn. And this chain 2 is going to count as a double crochet, and then we're just simply going to put 1 double crochet into every double crochet of the row. So you'll have the same amount, either 7 or 9 double crochets in this row. So I'll just go ahead and finish that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to try to get it into that chain 2 space there. There we go. And 7. So from here, sizes extra small through medium. So size small, size extra small, small, and medium. You're going to repeat this last row 2 more times. Okay, so go ahead and finish that, and I'll get everybody back on the next step. Alright, so once small through medium did their extra 2 of that row, we're going to begin increasing actually. So now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn. So this chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 1. And so then from here we're going to put another double crochet into the same chain space. So this first space technically has 2 double crochets and a chain 1 in between. And then from there we're just going to put sorry, I just had to double check what I wrote down. So we're going to put 1 double crochet in every chain space until the end of the row. And then in this last one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In this last one, we're going to put, kind of like how we did at the beginning of this row, we're going to put a double crochet in the last stitch, and then we're going to chain 1 and put 1 more double crochet into that same stitch there at the end. So you should have like 2 pretty small gaps there on the sides, and you'll either have 9 here or 7 depending on how many you had before. So from here, what we're going to do is go ahead and chain 3 and turn, and this chain 3 is still a double crochet plus a chain 1, and from here we're going to skip this empty chain space and put a double crochet increase into this very first double crochet. So we're going to put 2 double crochets into that first one, and then we're going to increase 1 more time and put 2 double crochets into the second one. Okay, so you have 2 increases back to back, and then we're going to put regular double crochets in the middle until we have the 2 double crochets left before the empty chain space. So I'm just going to put regular double crochets in the middle. And then in my last 2, I'm going to do another 2 increases. So 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then do that 1 more time and put 2 double crochets into that last double crochet. And then from there, we're going to chain 1 and then just double crochet into this empty chain space here, like that. And so you can see we still have our 2 empty chain spaces, and then we have 2 increases in the front and 2 increases on the other side. Not on the front, but on both sides. So from here, this pattern is going to repeat. So we're going to chain 3 and then turn, and then we're going to skip this empty chain space and then do 1 increase in this very first double crochet, 1 and 2, and then 1 more increase in this second one, 1 and 2. And then we'll do double crochets in the middle, and in these final 2 double crochets before your empty chain space, you'll do 2 more increases and then chain 1 and double crochet into this loop. So we're going to continue this pattern for extra small. You'll continue until you have, let me just double check here, until you have 47 double crochets in between the spaces. So not counting the 2 at the end, you'll have 47 in the middle. For small, you'll have 51, medium will have 59, large will have 71, extra large will have 79, and 2x will have 89, and 3x will have 97. So go ahead and repeat this pattern, and I'll meet you there and show you what to do after that. Okay, so I continued increasing until I reached the number for my size. I believe mine was 59. So what we're going to do next is kind of fold the top part of the bikini over that, and we're going to get ready to crochet this together to the back side. So the 2 corners should align with the stitch markers on both sides. so those should match up. You can always go back and count and make sure they'll match up. And just remember that your center seam is where the middle stitch of this is, so those two match up. So where this tail is where the middle stitch in this row will line up, so you can kind of count it and gauge it from there. But what we want to do before we crochet these together is just make sure that this is inside out, because you want your seam to be on the inside. So let me make sure. Yes, okay. So mine's is now flipped to the inside, and my working yarn is over here. So these two stitches match where the stitch marker is, and just remember too that this is one stitch plus a chain one, so this chain one is going to go with the next stitch, and it's the same on the other end. So once you know what your stitch is and you have them matched, you can remove your marker and go on ahead and match them. So I'm just going to insert my hook into that stitch with the marker, and then I'm going to pull this loop through, pull up a loop. Whoops. Go ahead and pull up that loop, and then get my working yarn. And then just chain one, and you could just chain one, that's fine for that one. And then next we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, and then insert your hook into this chain one space, pull up a loop and slip stitch. Okay, then we're going to go into the next chain space and then go into the next chain space of the bottom, pull up a loop, and then slip stitch. So that's all we're doing. We're just going to match the corresponding stitches. Just make sure that you do not skip any empty chain spaces or any stitches in the front. It's easier to skip in the front. So yeah, just be careful and go ahead and slip stitch these two sides together, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. So I've slip stitched all the way down and I'm almost finished, and I just wanted to show you that just remember when you get to this this double crochet plus chain one, or it might be a chain three, just make sure that you don't skip that one. That one gets its own stitch, so that one gets the second to last stitch to slip stitch with, and then your last stitch should be with the very last stitch of the row of the back. So go ahead and slip stitch that last one, and then from there we're actually going to turn. I'm actually going to chain one first just to lock that slip stitch in, and then we're going to turn our work right side out so that the right side is facing us now. Maybe I'll turn it the other way. Try to turn it so that you can have your string on the outside. There we go. So yeah, now my string is ready and I can keep crocheting. We're just gonna do a quick border around the leg holes. So I've turned my work just so that it's easier for me to crochet, and that my my working yarn is on the outside. So I already chained one, and so all we're doing for this border of the leg hole is that we're going to insert our hook into the very first empty chain space next to where we came from, pull up a loop and single crochet, and we're just going to put 2 single crochets into that one, and then we're going to continue that pattern. So it's just 2 single crochets in every empty chain space around the border of the leg hole. So that is all we're going to be doing here. So go ahead and make your way all the way around this leg hole, and I will meet you at the end of this row and show you. And so as we're going through the leg hole, I almost forgot that we have this area in the middle, in the crotch area, that does not have the empty chain spaces. So all we're going to do here is we're just going to put 2 double crochets in the side of these few rows that don't have any empty chain spaces. So you can either go all the way around the stitch. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go all around the entire stitch. I mean, it'll make a hole, but it'll be a pretty small hole, and I don't mind that too much. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that part. I didn't want to skip that part. If you don't want this hole here, I mean, it's not very big, you could actually split these stitches in half instead, so that way you won't get these holes, but I don't really mind them. They're not that big. So yeah, go ahead and continue this border until you reach the other end of the leg hole, and I'll meet you there. Alright, so I've made my way all the way around the leg hole, and once I get back to the beginning, I'm just simply going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet there, and then chain 1 and cut and tie off. I'm just going to cut and tie off there. And then from there, we're going to turn our work so that we can reattach the yarn to the other side. So I'm just going to reattach it to the same corner that I had it in on this side. So I'm just going to reattach it here in the back. I like putting things in the back so you don't see it as much. So I'm just going to reattach my yarn. You can do like a slip knot if you like that method, or you can do the double knot. I always just do a double knot. So I'm just going to put my double knot here. 1 and 2. And then I'm going to crochet over this tail. I'm just going to reinsert my hook back into that same stitch and pull up a loop, and then I'm just going to go into this first empty chain space and start with my 2 single crochets just like we did on the other side. So it's pretty simple. It's the exact same thing. We're just going to put 2 single crochets in every empty chain space, and then however you did that middle portion where there weren't chain spaces, kind of in the center area, however you did that one, that's how you're going to want to do this leg hole as well, so they'll match. And so go ahead and finish that, and I'll meet you at the end and show you what's next. Alright, looks like I just have one more empty chain space to go, and then I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into that very first single crochet, and then chain 1 and cut and tie off. Okay, so now we are pretty much finished here. You do have some tails that you can weave in and everything, but let's get that a little more. But yeah, it's pretty much finished. Now this waistband should fit your low waist pretty snugly, but you can always just make a chain and kind of make a drawstring. You can have your drawstring coming out on the inside so that it's not seen, or you could have it more decorative, maybe put tassels on it. But yeah, it's pretty much complete. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you did like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for future videos. And I'll see you on the next video.